Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, you're listening to World Combat Sports. If you haven't heard, now you heard. I'm putting it out there. And I want y'all to pay close attention. Shout out to JC in the building. T Joyner, salute to y'all. First in the chat. What's good? So therefore, I try to, be easy on the temporaries. A temporary is a term I used back when I was active duty on people that was considered casuals, in my opinion, who didn't know their job and all that. But I got to speak out to the temporaries who kind of didn't give this the kind of attention and patience that they needed. Negotiation is not a duck. Negotiation is getting your worth, and it's going to come back 10 times over if you be patient and do what's right. Teofimo Lopez, officially, the word is out. He's the $2 million man. And he waited out with 15. Look, 15 fights. Come on, man. Teofimo Lopez is lead majors right now. It just goes to show you that if you understand the business side of the house and just don't listen to other people, it's a big difference with just going in here listening to everybody and not holding strong to your square. Teofimo Lopez, 15-0, 12 knockouts, held out to face Vasyl Lomachenko, who originally was, I guess, slated to get 1.2 mil. And many of y'all was like, man, that's a lot of money. But look, I have to tell you, in all respect, 1.2 million is taxed. 1.2 million have many other collective agents that have to be paid. All right. When it's all said and done, might be looking at 657, if that. Is that enough money for someone to say, okay, the magnitude of this fight that I'm going into, that's enough money I need to go in here grossing. All right. Grossing, netting to basically go home and feel satisfied about what I'm getting paid. And Teofimo Lopez said, hell no. David McWater said, heck no. And I hope to get his manager on here, Mr. McWater. I did hit him up. I'm hoping to get him on here on this live. I'm just waiting on him to return my text. I know he's a busy person, but I have reached out to him. I've already did a video. An interview with him before, and I really hope he hit me back. So that's who I'm waiting on. But I just want to put it out there, like, I am respectful of Teofimo Lopez holding out. That's man shit right there. That's being astute to the game of boxing. Like Teofimo said, it's called negotiation. He has to feed his family. Now he has a different price point when it comes to his brand. Teofimo Lopez now can say that he made 2 million in his career. And the only thing he had to do was be patient, hold out, let his people do the work. Let his people do the work. That's what I'm trying to tell y'all, man. You can't just go up here and get behind the mic and talking about so-and-so ducking, and he's trying to feed his family. Negotiation has never been called ducking from across the board. Negotiation is trying to get a higher price point for your worth as a fighter. And we all know that boxing don't have a retirement plan. We understand how that works, people. JC said, that's what I've been saying. Agreed. 500K. All right, that's what's up, man. Salute to you. Appreciate your service. Say thanks for your service, fellow vet. I understand how negotiation came ducking. I'm everywhere in the window of these groups. You know what I'm saying? And I just listen to people, of course. And there was a lot of y'all out there that was saying Teofimo was ducking, all because he was negotiating. And I just want to let you know that hopefully you send those roses out, those bouquet of roses out to the Lopez family and apologize right goddamn now, because you supposed to. And you need to do better at reporting on boxing when it comes to negotiation. Negotiation is only a delay to basically go in and try to determine if there's room for a higher amount or any type of worth that you see fit for your particular fighter. Purses are important, people. This is the hurt business. If you don't understand that by now, then hey, you need to lace up and get in there and go some rounds and understand what it's like to compete. The takeover. Teofimo Lopez, 15-0, 12 knockouts, held his square, let his people work, and they was able to get Vasyl Lomachenko to reduce his purse size by 800 stacks, to attribute an even $2 million to make this fight happen. Now, the only thing left for Teofimo Lopez is to go in there and get these belts. Go in and get these belts. If I seem like I'm a little happy about this, yes, because you know what, it kind of, I don't get on here to say, well, I'm proving something, this, that, and the other. Hey, it's easy to get a bunch of people in your live chat to agree with you and talking about, I believe this, I believe that, he's ducking. If he don't take this, he should have took that. 1.2 ain't that bad. Says who? You're not paying that man bills. Give that man a salute and respect. $2 million even. Now we got to fight. Now anything else is pointless to talk about. Negotiation have never been ducking. No matter how many times you say it, negotiation is what it is. It's business first, then boxing. Why you think Floyd Mayweather is such an astute genius when it comes to boxing? Because he understands what negotiation process is. Don't look at Floyd Mayweather and say he was a genius with making all that money and then frown upon Teofimo Lopez and he went out here and negotiated his worth, his value. Man, y'all got to do better, man. 1099. JC say 1099. The tax man always going to get their money. The tax man will always get their money. I remember telling somebody just recently, I'm like, the purse is taxed, right? Do you understand that? Do you understand that fighter, if they get paid $5 million, they're not taking home $5 million? Do you totally understand the magnitude of what I'm trying to tell you? There are other people outside of the taxes that has to be compensated, made right. And then you have a collective group of individuals that are considered your team, and you have to pay them. A lot of these individuals work off percentages. They don't work off flat fees. They work off percentages. And a solid point to make on that is thinking of Gennady Golovkin, Triple G, and Abel Sanchez. When Triple G signed that new multi-million-dollar deal, he wanted Abel Sanchez to take a flat fee. You know why? Because Abel Sanchez was making a percentage, and I guarantee you that percentage was no less than 30. Abel Sanchez percentage was probably no less than 30, y'all. So you have to go into a fight knowing that your trainer is getting 30%. That's not to include everybody else that you got to pay. I served 6 years as well. Salute to everyone who served. Shout out to the vets in the chat. Vets in the chat, man. Shout out to y'all. Appreciate your service all day, every day. You know what it is. You know what it is. Well, I'm happy to hear this news, real talk, because it says a lot about the individuals who are out here for longevity in the sport. And now, what Teofimo has been able to do is set another bar. He set another bar. And if you don't think 800,000 is a lot of money, it is. 15 fights in, and you say, okay, My bar is 2 million now. So I'm going up from there. That is how you negotiate. It is only a temporary delay, y'all. To go to the table, I will to have those table talks and to come up with a reasonable number that placates both sides. That's all negotiation is. Negotiation is not, in some cases, healthy. Negotiation, in a lot of cases, can be furious. It can have both parties going back and forth, excoriating one another. It can be arguments. It can be discontent. But when it's all said and done, if you get what you came in the door for, it all works out in your favor, period. You basically did what the fuck you supposed to do, held out for more money, and you got the prize. Now that you have the prize, the rest is physical, mental. Go and split the ropes and go get these belts, T.O. You got your money. Go ahead and get these belts. That's what it's all about, people. That's all I'm trying to say. You know, them temporaries out there, man. I'm not gonna let this word go because ain't nobody else. This is the word I came up that I said back in the day. Nobody else. This is temporaries. Temporaries is somewhat worse than casuals because temporaries in boxing, they really don't understand everything about it without doing proper research. They haven't even been around the sport long enough to experience certain things. So the only information they have to grab onto is what's been floating around in the surface on social media. But sometimes you have to really embed yourself into boxing, go to some of these fight cards, meet some of the people that's the shakers and movers in the sport of boxing, have those conversations, learn. You can't sit up here and say somebody don't know shit about boxing just because you up here behind the mic and it sounds good to say it. You have to talk to the shakers and movers. These promoters that's been in the game for a long ass time, managers, matchmakers. You have to talk to the heavy hitters in the sport. This is one of the dirtiest, grimiest sport in the game. And you think negotiation is not a key factor in a fighter's mentality to go into the ring and perform well? I mean, just look at what has happened here. Teofimo now is going into that fight, $2 million. And then, of course, him reading all the media and Twitter and hearing all the BS that was going around, that he was ducking Vasyl Lomachenko. He really don't want the fight. How? The fight is freaking made now, y'all. Negotiation is done. Deion Washington, shout out to Alabama. He's in the building. Salute to you, Deion. Appreciate you stopping through as always, man. Give me your thoughts, people. I need to hear your thoughts. Because you know what? I know some of y'all be on other damn channels dropping mad info. I want to hear your thoughts on Teofimo Lopez, man. Waiting. Intelligently waiting and negotiating his worth with this fight with Vasyl Lomachenko. And he was able to do it. Hold on for a second. And he was able to do it. And that's huge. Because now the narrative is going to change all of a sudden. And I want everybody's energy to stay the same. I want your energy to stay the same for those of you that was doubting. You was trying to fragment the heart of Teofimo Lopez as if he didn't want to fight. I mean, I'm talking about people who I actually believe understood the process for which boxing worked. But for them not to understand enough to elaborate and say, you know what? Okay, I understand why he would negotiate. But don't just say, Oh, it's 1.2 million for somebody who's not lacing up Teofimo's gloves. Don't just say it's 1.2 as if the man ain't getting taxed. Like, come on, people. That's why I always say, man, when I address the people in the chat, I always treat them with 100% from the start of age appropriation and maturity. And then I deduct from there. I start taxing that ass from there. You start coming here, acting like a temporary man. You know what? I'm gonna start taxing, and then I'm gonna damn boot you. You know what I'm saying? I expect everybody to understand how that entire process works and speak on it accordingly. You know what I'm saying? Negotiation is very important, and I salute T.O. for holding out. Now the fight's going to be even bigger because we're in August and we have ample amount of time for new media to speak on this, to speak on the fight itself, to break down the fight. This is what we want to hear now. We want to hear analysis, analytics, however you want to address it. We want to hear how it's going to play out theoretically. Vasyl Lomachenko, Teofimo Lopez. Now that the fight is official, negotiation is done, how do we see this fight playing out? Compare resume to resume. I don't want to hear nothing about no Olympics, no two-time Olympics. I don't want to hear nothing about that because, Teofimo Lopez have Olympic pedigree too. But I don't want to hear, the 2 gold medals and all this other stuff. And, he had hundreds of amateur fights. No, I want to hear the resume that is active in the professional ranks and take it from there. I want to hear about the visuals of looking at Lomachenko fights. And for some of y'all, as much as I try to refrain from, really taking out the blowtorch, some of y'all repeat the same thing all the time. We already know that he fought Rigondeaux. We already know that he fought Nicholas Waters. But do you know the circumstances that led around him fighting Nicholas Waters? Did he have to drop mad weight? I mean, do we know the circumstances about, Gary Russell Jr. fighting at super feather and coming down the feather? Fight Lomachenko? Do we know that was for a vacant? We know all that. So now you start boosting up Jorge Linares? How do you boost up Jorge Linares? Just because he finished a fighter who's been finished before? You can't boost up a fighter just because you want to bring up the value of the talking points that you're trying to halo. You're trying to brighten up the status of Vasyl Lomachenko by highlighting fighters that shouldn't be highlighted. There's no reason for you to even talk as if you haven't looked at their prior fights and know that Jorge Linares has been stopped several times before he stepped in there. And then you ignore the fact that what Tank was able to do with Pedraza. I mean, you're not really coming to me with the meat on the bone, y'all. Y'all understand what I'm talking about? Like, how are you going to just let that go? Now I want to hear, since everything is done and over with negotiation, what is next? What's going to be talked about next when it comes down to comparing resumes with these two fighters? What's going to be next, y'all? I'm just curious because you're going to ignore the fact that Gervonta Davis stopped Jose Pedraza, but yet Vasyl Lomachenko went the distance with him. But yet you're saying Teofimo Lopez is ducking Vasyl Lomachenko when the common opponent that they was in there with, I mean, the common opponent that him and Gervonta has that has the regular title right here. No one wants to give Gervonta any praise for going in there stopping this man. But Vasyl Lomachenko gets all the praise in the world for going the distance with him. Does that make any freaking sense to you? That you're not going to give Teofimo his credit for negotiating and stepping in here with Vasyl Lomachenko. But yet, when you go through Vasyly's resume, what are you going to say? The same rundown, repetitive, oh, he was in there with Jorge Linares. We know that. We can look on his box rec and figure that out. Rigondeaux, he made him quit. Man, we done heard that. That shit public record. He was in there with Jason Sosa. The same Jason Sosa that was in there with Jokic Gamboa. He was in there with Javier Fortuna. He was in there with Nicholas Waters. Who cares? Who cares, man? What has he done lately, though? When it comes to Teofimo Lopez, who is 15-0, IBF champion, please don't get on here talking the same retreaded information as we heard before, because we already know who he's been in there with, man. And they're going to bring up Roman Martinez. You know, when y'all look at Vasyl Lomachenko's record, it's not the most stupendous lineup that you can find with somebody that's 14-1. It just isn't. And he has only 10 knockouts. But there is a story to the Gary Russell fight. There's a story to the Nicholas Waters fight, because I'm just mentioning these names because certain people tend to latch on to them. There's a story with a Jason Sosa fight. Miguel Mariaga touching him up. He might have got finished in the 7th round, but he really made Lomachenko wear the fight. Rigondeaux coming up 2 weight class, a smaller fighter. Y'all want to praise Rigondeaux any other time as being one of the best. He came in there undefeated, stepping up to be great, right? Rigondeaux stepped up to be great, but couldn't make it. RTD. I repeat, for the temporaries, RTD. What does that mean? He did not come back out. Vasyl Lomachenko did not TKO him or KO him, temporaries. You listening? It's a RTD. RTD can be for many things. Jorge Linares, we know he set him down in like the 6th round, right? But yet he was stopped in the 10th. Okay, cool. But once again, if you look up and you're able to press play, we've seen Jorge Linares get stopped before. Man, that's what I'm trying to say, man. Like, just look at the record. It ain't that difficult. You know what I'm saying? Linares back in 2009 was stopped by Salgado. Like I told you before, back-to-back losses. DeMarco stopped him in the 11th. Sergio Thompson stopped him in the 2nd. He goes to him, Vasyl Lomachenko. Vasyl stops him in 10, right? Now peep this, temporaries. I'm not talking about the ones in the live chat. If this considers, concern, if this irks you a little bit, then you might be absorbing the temporaries too much. Believe me, temporaries is basically a lower label of a casual in boxing. Know that. After he was stopped by Vasyl Lomachenko, Jorge Linares was stopped in the 1st round by Pablo Cesar Cano. This man has been stopped before, y'all. So I'm really I shake my head when I hear people mention the same BS all the time, building Vasyl Lomachenko up. Yes, he's an athlete. Yes, he has skills. But how can you build up Jorge Linares being stopped by Vasyl Lomachenko when he has been stopped several times in his career? Who the fuck know Anthony Corolla? Who? Jose Pedraza, legitimate. He still has some worth to his name. I can't really dog out Jose Pedraza. You know, he was dropped, but he finished the fight 12 rounds. I actually like Jose Pedraza. I do. You know what I'm saying? Give him Jose Pedraza. But you're going to turn around and praise Luke Campbell? You know, we want to identify Luke Campbell as a gold medal Olympian. Therefore, you know, Luke Campbell, you know, coming from you know, where he's coming from, and Vasyl Lomachenko going over to his backyard and fighting for the vacant WBC title. That says a lot about Vasyl Lomachenko. When I tell you, that says a lot. I don't want to hear that bullshit. Who knew about Luke Campbell before he stepped in there with Vasyl Lomachenko? I'm talking about to the temporary fans, not the hardcores, the temporary fans. Who knew about Luke Campbell? Not too many. If you look at his resume, look, he was defeated by Jorge Linares, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Split decision. He was defeated by Jorge Linares. The same one Vasyl Lomachenko defeated. How y'all boosting this guy up, man? Let me get to the live chat. $79 boxing. What's good? WCS salute. You stay grinding. Appreciate it, man. Everybody that's in the live chat today, you know what it is. He really didn't even do nothing to Rigo. Hey, all I'm trying to say, Dion, they act like Rigo was on one knee. I'm not up here trying to question somebody's competence, man, when it come down to their knowledge about the sport. But Rigo was an RTD. An RTD means he did not come out for the next round, right? So therefore, it's just like Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury did not stop. Once again, Tyson Fury did not stop. Once again, Tyson Fury did not stop Deontay Wilder. The tower came in and Kenny Bayless stopped the fight. If you look at the fight again, Deontay Wilder was throwing a punch even before, right when Kenny Bayless was stepping in. Did I just say that he didn't take any punishment? I never said that. But only thing I want y'all to understand is when you boost up Vasyl Lomachenko and say he started Rigondeaux, he was the best fighter out there. So you boost up the Cuban, but yet you tear him down when it comes to Vasyl Lomachenko for not being able to come out for the next round because he was injured. The man came up 2 weight classes. Do you see a trend in that? How Vasyl Lomachenko has selectively picked his opponents and with certain specified conditions step in the ring with them? Now, once again, and appreciate that Dion Washington for the donation, man. Real talk. I appreciate it. He said just cause. I appreciate it, bro. I just want to know how this all going to play out for Teofimo Lopez. Because now the fight is popping. Now the fight is freaking popping. It's going to happen. Can Teofimo Lopez? I'm going for Teofimo Lopez. I'm going for Teofimo Lopez. It's no more gauging. It's no more sitting up here guessing. There's no more ducking, no more dodging, no more running. Get on here and talk about the fight now. Let's see how things switch up now. Teofimo Lopez won, you know, he was negotiating. Yeah, I believe that's ducking right there. How, temporaries? How do you consider negotiation? Not one media source said that the fight was canceled. Not numero uno, not one. Not one media source reported that the fight was canceled. Now, Teofimo gets what he wants. What do you think his word is going to be when he comes back to the social media? He already said it's called negotiation. You heard what he put on the end of it, right? Didn't he say it's called negotiation, assholes? You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, he's telling you right there that he really don't care what y'all think. He's going to negotiate for him and his family and his team. And once again, a tidbit, a nugget for you. When it comes down to negotiation there, people, the fighter isn't the one who's they're negotiating. They have managers for that, y'all. How good is your manager? How good is your manager willing to go in there and advocate for the fighter and make sure they get what they want? You got to have a solid manager. That's why you pay them what you pay them. You have to have a solid manager that's on point, educated, smart, experienced, and first and foremost, loyal to understanding that they're working for the fighter. First and foremost, the managers need to understand they're working for the fighter. And this just proves that Mr. McWhorter knows what is going on. That's why he has over 50 fighters or more to his charge, y'all. The man is amazing. He has many fighters that he's negotiated with. I mean, negotiated for in the sport of boxing. But this is big right here. My bag. I was trying to see if that was him. Hit me back because I definitely hope I can get him on here before I get off. But Dion said Teofimo catches Lomachenko with that same straight right that the Naras did. He ain't getting up, just like Mason Menard. Dion, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the Mason Menard. Since you brought that up, I just want to mention, because some people tend to leave this out when I'm talking about new media. Let's talk about Mason Menard to a sense, right? Mason Menard records 36 and 425 knockouts, right? Let's go through some change. Let's go through the changes there, Dion. He was stopped by Beltran in 7. He was stopped by Haney in the 9th out of a 10-round fight. Teofimo Lopez stopped this man face first to the canvas in the 1st round, y'all. And you ain't trying to give him no credit, but yet you're going to give other fighters credit. You're going to give Haney credit. You're going to give Beltran credit. But just because you're not feeling Teofimo Lopez because he's negotiating, I'm not saying you, Dion. I'm talking about generalizing. They're not going to give this man credit for knocking Mason Menard out in the 1st freaking round, face first. After Teofimo Lopez fought Mason Menard, that sent him back down to doing 6-rounders, y'all. When he stepped in with Beltran, it was a 10-round fight. He stepped in with Haney, it was a 10-round fight. He stepped in with Teofimo Lopez, a 10-round fight. After that 1st round knockout, his last 2 fights been 6-rounders, y'all. I say again, 6-rounders. Don't ever sleep on what you're worth, man. Seriously. I appreciate, I respect, salute to Team Lopez, the takeover. You know, I understand where they're coming from the whole time. The back and forth. You know, I judge a man by his character, right? On how he stands up for what is right within his own belief and not the belief of others. That's me. That's what I'm telling you. His own belief and not the belief of others. I truly believe that wholeheartedly when it comes down to certain men on how the respect level should go, because it's a lot of men out here that are leaders and they don't need to be in a group to validate who they are. And then there's a lot that's out here in the group and they love the comfort, the euphony of all those people that's willing to follow the same narrative. I just never been that person. That's why when it came down to the negotiations, and you got so people, yeah, I'm just saying a T.O. ducking, y'all. T.O. ducking. How the fuck do you figure? T.O. ducking, he should have took the 1.2. How? You don't understand how boxing work, homie? I mean, how can you not understand how boxing works? Have you not heard people say boxing is a business first? Once again, boxing has always been a business. That's why you have some fighters who are extremely rich and some who are extremely broke. And they're broke because they're not fighting anymore. They're outside the sport now, retired or injured. So they never really had enough income to really start their own business. And not every fighter can become a trainer. Not every fighter opens up a gym while they're making money. Not every fighter is considered the elite. So their purses are at the highest level and they're able to benefit from that. Not every fighter has sponsors out here that continue to provide them support once they're out the sport. Not every fighter has that benefit, y'all. Kudos to Team Teofimo Lopez, man. I hope you temporaries out there that was saying this man ducking because he's negotiation. I really want to hear what your language and your cadence is like now. That's what I want to know. Now that the fight has been made, how the fuck do you come on and talk anything else except apologizing? Well, you know what? As a man, as media, new media, I just need to do a better job with understanding. Because one bad facet to new media is the fact that someone to go out here and say something that isn't right just to have people tune in. I don't want people doing that on my live chat. I want individuals who are intelligent enough to stand for what their belief is. Not if I come up here and tell you, you know what, I don't support one fight and one fight only. I don't support 2-3 fighters this time. Most of what I'm reporting on is going to be 2 or 3 fighters, and that's it. I don't want you to come over here and just say, well, let's talk about those 2 or 3 fighters when I consider myself boxing media. It's never going to happen. But it's something to be said if you have somehow bamboozled those individuals who was tuning in and saying that negotiation was somehow a duck, which if you look it up, it doesn't even say it in a dictionary. Any type of form of reading material that you can define what negotiation is, you will not say someone failing to accept because of fear of this. When it comes, you know, they have boxing underlined, failing to fight an opponent because they're scared. So they chose the plan B to negotiate to avoid fighting that fighter, period. That's not what negotiation is. It's just the understanding that we need to talk a little bit longer before we finalize these numbers. That's all. If the numbers on the resume is important, why isn't the numbers that you're making to fight that person on your resume important? Once again, I repeat, if new media is gonna talk about the numbers on the resume and how many wins and how much experience this fighter's got, and if they still have an O and how many losses, why isn't that same energy and concern placed when it comes to negotiation? It's almost like you just want to see what the fighter is dressed in. You know what I'm saying? You just want to see how the resume is dressed up and everything. You know, what fighters they have on there. Because it's very contradicting when you look at numbers on the resume. Just say you got a fighter that's 25-0, right? And people just look at how it's dressed up, say, oh man, that fighter's 25-0. This amount of knockouts. And according to if you support that fighter, you're going to praise him and big him up. So you're trying to say the 25-0 is more important than the money that fighter's making for that record? That's asinine, man. And I don't want to use Roger Mayweather. I don't want to use Roger Mayweather and say you don't know shit about boxing, because obviously you know a little bit about boxing. But I'm just trying to help people understand that if you want to dress up a resume and beautify it and say, oh, so and so is undefeated and all this, have no losses, but then another fighter can have an undefeated record and they ain't nothing, they ain't shit, and that fighter chooses to negotiate. How does it fall short in any way, shape, or form? It's a numbers game. They say numbers don't lie, right? So if it's a numbers game, how are you going to look up resumes and say a fighter don't deserve? A fighter don't deserve to negotiate. I'm just saying, how does that all happen, man? I'm back. So Dion, you say live call on ESPN Plus. Just letting you know. I mean, what are you talking about? What exactly you talking about? Dion, what exactly you talking about? Live call on ESPN Plus. Are you talking about Vasyli's card or? All right, get back with me whenever. Oh yeah, Michael Conlon. Okay, yeah. Yeah, Colin Frampton. Let's see, Michael Conlon. Yeah, I appreciate that info, Dion. And that's what I'm talking about. See, that's what I'm talking about. Salute to you, Dion. Thanks for dropping that, man. Thanks for letting me know. Appreciate that. I had to get on here and talk about the Teofimo Lopez because it's very important for people to kind of change the narrative moving forward. It changed their whole behavior when it comes to fighters negotiating. That's all I'm saying, man. Like, I don't care how many people I don't have watching, like it ain't in the 100. I do not want people sitting on here just agreeing with everything I say. I want a group of competent individuals knowing how to carry on a dialogue with another adult and have their own belief system. I'm not here to be a dictator. I'm not here to sit up here and convince grown people how to think. I want you to think for your freaking self. But when I hear channels where everybody's agreeing and some of that shit is absolutely uninformed, that shit is wrong. Man, how the fuck, man? Come on, man. It's easy for sheep to follow one another. They all look the same and sound the same, man. But you don't know the difference between negotiation and a fight not wanting to fight. A fighter that doesn't want to fight is basically going to make up any excuse possible not to make the fight happen. It's called the fight has been canceled. The fight is no longer happening. Then mainstream media, new media get a hold of the news and we put it out. New media, we have to do better, y'all. We have to do better, for real. We have to do better with reporting information as if we're misinformed, not because we haven't heard of it, but just because we haven't really had the experience and educated ourselves enough to go out here and learn about it. Negotiation isn't ducking. Negotiation isn't ducking. There's no way that you're going to be able to prove that narrative now that the fight is official with an extra 800,000. Come on, man. With an extra 800,000. The good thing about it, right, is that Teofimo Lopez price tag now is 2 mil. Okay, he can say he made 2 million. I want to just readdress this. He's not going to take home 2 million, but he can say that he made over 1 million. You know what I'm saying? He can actually say he made 1 million for that fight. But when it comes down to his negotiation practice, he can identify and say, you know what, I'm going to negotiate above 2 million. What's going on, boxing? What's good with you? Appreciate you stopping in, man. That's all I'm trying to make. Now, for Rolando, Romero, and you know, if you got any questions about Teofimo Lopez, cool. Romero is set to step in there and fight. And I know, you know, it's just amazing once again, like I just sit back and listen to certain individuals talk about the lightweight division and not mention ROLLY. And, you know, the only time his name comes up in the talking point is when it's, you know, the Ryan Garcia sparring match. But Rolando Romero is 11-0, 10 knockouts. He started boxing in 2016, man. His last fight was February this year, an undefeated fighter. He stopped him in the second round. Undefeated fighter. The only time ROLLY has went the distance with any of his opponents was his second professional. Let me see. No, his fifth professional fight. I think it was his fifth professional fight. I think it was Javier Martinez. He went 6 rounds with him. Everybody else has met an early closer facing ROLLY Romero. Is he the dark horse of the lightweight division? The man is still a competitor. He can box. So once again, I can't even put myself in here. I can't say we. I can't speak French because every time I look at Rolando Romero, I can't say, I bring up him and Ryan Garcia. I just can't say that all the time because I don't. I think he's a pretty solid fighter. But when people mention Ryan Garcia, they choose to want to now align him with the top names in boxing. I know he's due to fight for the interim WBC title. And now Romero is set to fight for the interim WBA world lightweight title. He's facing Jackson Martinez August 15th. You know what that is. That's this weekend. So we have to start considering Rolando Romero is a dark horse in lightweight division. He's not a bum. ROLLY is not a bum, man. There's no way that people can sit up here and say, well, you turn back to the same language. Well, guess what? If you're going to say he ain't fought nobody, that is the format in boxing. If you're not familiar with the fighter he fought, then of course it's going to be the same thing. He ain't fought nobody. But when it comes down to boxing, y'all need to understand that people build up their fighter for a reason. You have fighters out here that are developmental fighters. You have journeymen that's out here. I've seen some journeymen fight in person and they put on them dudes can fight, but they have a losing record because some of the fights that they took, they wasn't in shape, or it was a quick turnaround. It was a tough opponent. And some of these journeymen, they make a lot of money just fighting repetitiously in short turnarounds. And they just made a commitment in their life, in their boxing career, to say, this is what I plan on doing. I'm just going to step into the ring and collect checks now. You know what I'm saying? Because when early on, when they was entering the sport, they probably had a different mentality to go in here and be something special. But when they start taking losses, according to what was going on in their life, they say, you know what? I'm just gonna start fighting for a check. The command decision was made for them to start fighting for a check. So understand, people, when you look across the board at a lot of fighters that you echo their name a lot, look at when they initially started. Are you gonna know those particular fighters? No. 9 times out of 10, you're not gonna know them. You're not gonna know the fighters. It's called building up that fighter's resume, building up their experience, building up their records. And early on, unless you just this star that's coming out of the Olympics and you was a man fighting boys, and you can come in here and fight for a championship in your second professional fight. Cool. Kudos to you. Real talk. Kudos to you. But not everybody can sit up here and go through the whole process of, getting a world title shot in the second bout and not being able to achieve it. And then, stepping in there in your third and getting it done for a vacant title. Everything aligned nicely. You know what I'm saying? Everything aligned nicely for Vasyl. But when it comes down to this fight right here, I'm not going to waver for who I'm going for. When it comes to Rolando Romero, just because he's building up his record and he's undefeated 11-0 and 10 knockouts, I will not call him a bum because everyone else choose to ignore him as a contender in the lightweight division. And he's signed with TMT. The only name you mostly hear people talk about over there when it comes to Floyd Mayweather and TMT is Gervonta Davis. That's mostly who you hear them talk about. A lot of people, out of sight, out of mind, quiet is kept. People just don't initially mention Rolando Romero like that. The only time his name really comes up in conversation is a sparring bout that he had with Ryan Garcia, I believe, back in 2018. Besides that narrative, a lot of people don't know too much about Rolando. He's a tough freaking fighter. He's going in there against Jackson Martinez. Undefeated 19-0 fighter, y'all. Just his 12th fight. Dominican Republic fighter. Now I must address this again. Don't jump behind the mic talking about it's a guy from Dominican Republic. And then you get on here and boost up all the other Dominican Republic fighters. You have to give these fighters a chance. Like, yeah, it's a lot of fights that come out of Mexico, DR, and all those other places. No one really has a clue who they are until they really start making a name for themselves. But, this Jackson Martinez, he's 19-0, 7 knockouts. Not a heavy-handed fighter, but he has fought in the States before. I've seen him fight down here in the A on the Gervonta Davis undercard. So I have familiarity. And that's what I'm saying about some of you media that get on here and say, oh, he's fighting a bum. Well, you didn't see the man fight in person. It's going to be a good fight. I was able to see him fight in person, ringside, before the big card start kicking off. Just like I seen Devin Haney fight when he came down here back in the day. I just don't speak on, trying to explain to people that if you're media, there might be certain levels of boxing that you are astute to and very well rounded. And then there's areas of boxing, if you never really stepped inside the arena and experienced and spoken and having a dialogue with various people. I'm not talking about just the big names so you can toss around as a narrative that everybody knows. No, we're talking about people who've been in the game for a long time and you really don't know who they are. But they have been around for decades plus in the boxing world. And they have a lot of knowledge, man. They would turn you on to a lot of freaking game. And the only way that you get to understand that level and that side of boxing is that you speak to them. You're able to have those conversations. Just like a conversation I had off record about Muhammad Ali's fight with Leon Spinks. From a person who was there. But yet, if I tell you, you know, how I feel and what I think about Teofimo Lopez, when people are saying they're ducking, they say, well, you know, they try to get to a point where we know you was there, but that don't mean anything. It does. It does mean something when you see a fighter fight. It does mean something when you are around a fighter and get to see how they move and what their attitude and their mentality, the conversation is like. You can find a lot about a fighter. It's a fighter that said it best, man. It's not the first time I heard it, but he said it best, man. This is true to what I believe. It's true, man. Joshua Greer Jr. said on his live backity back. He said, if you got an ounce of bitch in you, I will find out. I will find out. And that shit is true. If a person have that type of mentality, if a man have that type of mentality or a fighter, you will determine somehow, some way. You will find out if that fighter has just an ounce of bitch in him. Rob 87 in the building. Salute. What's good? What's good? Nick Diaz in the building. Loma just turned Teofimo into a little Latin boy and dragged from the movie to Wong Fu. Dang, Nick Diaz going in hard, man. Shoot. I don't know what all that stands for, Nick, but understand I'm definitely a traveler. You know what I'm saying? I'm definitely a traveler through these media. So I do know exactly who you are and what other sites do you visit. Just do me a favor, big dog. Understand you in the live chat of World Combat Sports. I'm letting them know the wrench game. I'm letting them know. Do not get on here trolling. Don't get on here trolling. Seneca J in the building. Salute, man. What's good with you, bro? Dun Dada. What's good, everybody? Say fan World Combat Sports. Salute to everybody that's in the building. Let me know what you think about Teofimo Lopez negotiating. And just to let you know, Nick Diaz, you was just on Blue Blood, you know, live stream. Not Blue Blood. You was just on ETB, Everything Boxing, and you was asking Money why he blocked you. I window shop. Hey, look, I window shop all the time. I go on other people's, you know, lives. I check out the live chat. I see who's over there. So when they pop up on my shit talking some nonsense or talking quality boxing, I can kind of understand where they're getting it from. That's called doing your research there, Nick. Now, this ain't about you. I'm gonna let that comment go. I'm gonna let the wrench gang handle that. But those of you that read my particular talking point on the YouTube side of the house, Teofimo Lopez gets his $2 million purse by negotiating the $800,000. But for Rolando Romero, right? He has a fight coming up against Jackson Jackson, what's his name? Jackson Marinez this weekend. Jackson Marinez 1907 knockouts. And Rolly, of course, is 11-0 with 10 knockouts. There is a history, that everybody link up Rolly to. Not the fact that he signed with TMT, not the fact that, Floyd Mayweather said, okay, Ryan Garcia, you defeat Rolly, you get Tank. That never maturated into anything. But this is what he said back then about when he was talking to media about Floyd Mayweather offering Rolly Ryan Garcia. Offering Ryan Garcia Rolly. Floyd knows he won't get past me. Ryan knows he won't get past me. De La Hoya knows he won't get past me. I'm a 6-round fighter in De La Hoya's opinion. All right. If I'm a 6-round fighter, why not get Ryan easy money against me? And then a guaranteed title shot, right? It will make sense, They know I will fuck him up. And De La Hoya can't afford to lose to Floyd again. I repeat, De La Hoya can't afford to lose to Floyd again. That's Rolly talking that. Spitting game, man. Floyd beat the shit out of De La Hoya. Floyd beat the shit out of Canelo. And now I'm going to beat the shit out of Ryan. That's coming from Rolly. Point blank, straight to the front to the back. Cut him down the middle. That was Rolly words when it comes to Ryan Garcia. You don't hear Ryan Garcia talking anything about stepping in there with Rolly. Now, I must say this though. It wasn't a wash in their sparring match. It was very competitive. It wasn't a wash, but in the mid to later rounds, Rolly did start picking up and landing his shots, and he was able to land some good solid power shots to Ryan Garcia. Had him leaking a little bit from the nose. But Ryan Garcia wasn't no freaking punk. He wasn't running around the ring. He was pressuring Rolly the first 4 or 5 rounds. He was really giving pressure, solid boxing pressure, y'all. But critiquing both fighters, though, I would definitely like to see Rolly use his jab more and stop trying to enter the front door with a power shot. Knock on that bitch a little bit. Put the jab, work behind the stick. Get him used to seeing that jab out there, man. It's different between ringing the doorbell and allowing somebody to know that you're there than just kicking down the door all the time. Which one is more effective? Working behind the jab. And then Ryan Garcia, he was working on the check left hook a lot. Ryan Garcia was working on, trying to basically say, I'm very confident in my speed. So he was trying to counter Rolly a lot. Even on the inside, I wouldn't say Garcia was getting manhandled. And I like how he was pivoting out and resetting on Rolly a little bit too. But when it came time to Rolly to change gears and press Ryan Garcia, it was much different, because earlier Ryan Garcia was pressing Rolly, but also Rolly was able to slip a lot of Ryan Garcia punches too. And when they did close distance, I like how Rolly was shooting that right uppercut. Rolly is a stronger fighter than Garcia, in my opinion. But fatigue kind of levels all that out, because when a fighter fatigue, no matter what strength you had previously, it kind of evens it out just a little bit. We're not talking about power per se. We're talking about the strength to be able to move around the ring, to be able to, have speed with your combinations, being able to have the energy to even get off. Not just standing there taking a pounding on the ropes, and then you see an opening and you land a big shot. That's when the power comes in. But as far as a fighter, getting the best, being better conditioned. It all depends on the punishment that a fighter isn't taking. I wouldn't say Garcia was washed, but in a lot of pockets of that sparring match, you know what I'm saying? Rolly was getting the best of Ryan Garcia. But call Ryan Garcia a pretty boy and everything else all you want. Garcia is legitimate. Garcia, he wasn't running. Rolly wasn't running. I mean, it was a damn good sparring match if you ask me. And for somebody like Garcia say he's only going to be in the sport to like when he's 26 or 27 years old, like I told people before, I really think Ryan Garcia is going to be in Hollywood when it all comes down to it. Watch what I say. I do believe Ryan Garcia is going to transition over to Hollywood and leave boxing behind for a bit. Seriously. That's what I believe. What's up, Johnny? What's good? What's good? Salute. Appreciate you stopping in. But I'm asking you all, be sure you check out this fight with Rolly Romero, aka Rolando Romero, as going on August 15th this weekend. He's fighting Jackson Marinez, a 19-0 fighter, undefeated. Rolly's 11-0 with 10 knockouts. Go check that fight out, man. This is his second fight in 2020. His second fight. I think it's going to be a very interesting fight. And once again, one thing I appreciate about Romero is if you speak to him, he totally understands boxing. Like he'll talk that boxing. It's a lot of fighters that box. They don't talk boxing with you. They can't talk boxing with you. But if you speak to Rolly, he understands boxing. He understands what he needs to do as a boxer. And one of his favorite quotes is, Floyd Mayweather, a true champion, will adapt to anything. That's what he lived by. You know, it's been on record that Rolly said, you know, he don't look at film of other fighters. He said because a true champion can adapt to anything. That's Floyd Mayweather's in his TMT gym. And that's true. If you're a true bona fide champion, you can adapt to a lot of shit, y'all. That's just like, you know, they say a testament of a man is not how he stand in time of whatever, but how he is in controversy, or however that saying goes. It's true to a point. You know, it's true to a point on how a man would act in controversy, in adversity. That'll tell you a lot about a man, period. But I want to hear, you know, I heard ES News ask him how he feels about being compared to Madonna, and he knew exactly what he was talking about. That's just what I'm saying about Rolly. If you talk to that man about boxing, man, and I've had the opportunity to talk to him at the Barclays, man, on the Deontay Wilder and Dominic Breazeale fight. I'm telling you, like when I get on here and talk about these fighters, man, a lot of these fighters I've had interaction with and was able to converse with them in person and kind of have an idea of who I'm dealing with. And just like Johnny said, you know, Rolly can talk that boxing. He's very confident. He ain't just sitting up there pausing and trying to come up with the smoothest thing, you know, the smoothest narrative to respond, or, you know, work on his bravado in front of the camera. Rolly will sit there and tell you what you hear, period. What's coming out his mouth, man, makes sense. Not every fighter is going to give you that. You know, not every not every media, new media at that, is going to have that experience to say, guess what? I've spoke to this particular fighter. I have an understanding and awareness of who he is. And, you know, when you interview him or when a fight is coming up, and, you know, when certain people, you know, I went through the process of telling that Teofimo Lopez isn't ducking Lomachenko. And, you know, the retort or the rebuttal was just because, you know, I've done an interview, there's favoritism. I don't show favoritism to fighters, man. Any fighter who's basically followed and have the opportunity to check out my catalog on YouTube, I don't just show favoritism to fighters. I just don't cover black fighters. I cover the sport of combat. That's why my brand is World Combat Sports. I speak boxing, mixed martial arts. I educate myself in what I'm looking at. Grappling, I educate. I'm not saying I'm the best at speaking, but I understand what I'm looking at when it comes to mixed martial arts. I understand what I'm looking at when it comes to boxing. I understand certain other disciplines such as Muay Thai. Certain rules that goes on whether they're throwing elbows or not. You have to go to these matches. And that's where you're not going to say, well, don't nobody want to hear about that shit. That's when you get somebody that's just straight up trying to be an asshole and hate, and they're not trying to respect that you put in groundwork. In some of these sports outside of boxing, you have to really see it and watch how they train in person and know how difficult it is. Because there's too many people that's mic'd up to say, well, you know, nobody want to watch MMA, or yet they'll just pick out a popular fighter that's going on at the time that everybody's mentioned, but you don't know about the fighter that was in the first 5 UFC events. You don't know which champion was this, which division pretty much reigned majority of the time. You don't know the history of all these other fighters that was back in the day with boxing. A lot of the great fighters that you look back in the past, man, they have multiple losses on their resume. Not everybody can be Archie Moore with 131 knockouts. Not everybody can be Henry Armstrong. It just takes a lot more time to understand that. But what I want y'all to do is check out the fights that's coming up, especially this weekend. And I want you to understand that it's going to get real interesting, y'all. Now that the fight is freaking made, we can start talking about how it's going to play out. I want to hear all the scenarios, because I want people to continue to say that, look, Lomachenko going to go in there and knock out Teofimo. I just look at when I hear that shit from the temporaries, it's talking about Lomachenko going to knock out Teo. How? Don't do that shit to yourself. If you tune in, don't do this shit. Don't allow somebody to just say, Lomachenko going to knock Teofimo out. So if Teofimo is considered a better fighter, he's undefeated, right? He is stepping in there for the unified chips, WBA and WBO. He's stepping in there for the unified chips. How can you even come and split your lips to say, after seeing Luke Campbell go 12, he's going to go in there and defeat Teofimo Lopez by knockout? How do you all come to that conclusion, though? He even dropped Luke Campbell. This is a gold medal Olympic, and he couldn't even get him up out of there. But you're going to say just because Teofimo Lopez is fighting Vasyl with 15 fights, he's going to go in there and get stopped? See, to me, when I hear language like that, it just feels like you know how you used to be in elementary and then you just couldn't wait to recess? That's how I feel. You know how some boxing fans, they get together and it's recess for them. They just want to go out there and see what everybody else is doing. They just want to talk about nothing. They just want to see what everybody else is doing so they can join in. If everybody over there on the seesaw, go ahead. Everybody on the sliding board, go play on the sliding board. Swing set, all right. Playing kickball, play kickball. If you're over there picking your nose, pick your nose. But to say Vasyl Lomachenko, who's not a knockout artist, is going to go in here and wash Teofimo Lopez after he went in there and finished Richard Comey in 2 rounds. I just get, you know, a little bit disappointed when the host don't correct them and say, man, how do you hold them accountable? You cannot continue to support your favorite fighter and dog out every other fighter that's an elite fighter, but just because they're not your favorite fighter, you're not supporting them anymore. That is casualness on the highest degree right there. That is temporary on the highest degree. When you don't want to show that true understanding of boxing and give both sides, if they deserve it, give both sides their credit, it's not any other word to use except temporaries, man. You don't follow the sport full time. You're just here for recess. You're just here, just going around, you know, joining in the group, talking shit, you know, getting attention, saying dumb shit. Just because your favorite fighter is up on deck, now the fighters that he's fighting, Teofimo Lopez, you're going to say the man is a bum. The man is, he's going to get knocked out. You have too many people, too many media out here. Not a lot of the mainstream media, right? Let me back up. I would say the new media that I consider QoS. QoS is quality of service. They will provide you certain quality of presentation when it comes to talking about boxing. Even when it comes to their favorite fighter, they'll break it down in the sense to say, you know what? This how the fight gonna play out between Vasyl and Teofimo Lopez. They're not gonna say, you know what, I'm going for Vasyl Lomachenko, and he gonna knock the fuck out of Teofimo Lopez. And then you look at his resume, and he's just coming off a fight for the vacant WBC, which he vacated, and he couldn't even get Luke Campbell up out of there. Strapped up Sammy. What's good? I see you. Say, world come back. What's up? Simplify, bro. Simplify, man. Hoorah. You know what it is. Yeah, JC, man, all of that. Casuals, fanboys, trolling, Loma fanboys, man. You know, hey, I'm just saying, Lomachenko, I respect him for, you know, his athleticism and what he was able to accomplish in his amateur pedigree. He's still in the process of, how you put it? He's dead. He's a 3-division champion, but he's still in the process of being great. That's all I can say about Vasyl Lomachenko. It is a ongoing process with him. You just can't put this man as one of the greats. Like I heard Bob Arum say, he's somewhat in the same frame as Muhammad Ali. And I'm like, huh? What? You putting Lomachenko in the same frame as Ali? Did your verbiage just echo that same language as Muhammad Ali? What is so magnificent about somebody with so little fights and attempted to come in here in his second fight but failed to get all that recognition just because you went in there and defeated Gary Russell for a vacant title at a lighter weight class, and you selectively picked certain people that had to make some type of change, like the Nicholas Waters that people always love to mention. Rigondeaux, oh, they love to mention that name. And then, of course, Linares and Pedraza. What about Mikey Garcia, man? I wish I would have seen, Vasyl Lomachenko face Mikey Garcia. But when you pick up the mic, show Teofimo Lopez the respect. He deserves that respect. He beat a champion for his belt. It don't matter where it ranks in the ranking system of sanctioning bodies. He defeated Richard Comey for the championship. In no way, shape, or form is Teofimo a bum. No way, shape, or form can you sit up here and say that Lomachenko is going to go in here and knock out Teofimo Lopez. I don't even like prognosticating scenarios like that. If Lomachenko goes in there and is able to finish Teofimo Lopez, then all the kudos to him. He get mad props. Like, I'm going to give him all the props. I say, okay, Vasyl, salute to you, bro. You did something I didn't think you was capable of doing. But I'm telling you right now, that's not my energy. That's not my language, y'all. That's not what I'm saying. I truly believe Teo can go in here and set Loma down and finish the fight. And people saying, well, Teofimo, he's been known to get tired in the later rounds. Listen, once again, if you've never seen Teofimo fight, then there's a space, there's a void there for you. If you've never seen the man fight in person, there's a void for you, because the only thing you're looking at is TV, and you're saying, okay, we're seeing him go in there and fight Diego Magdaleno, but that was a bum. Diego Magdaleno wasn't bum. It wasn't a bum. If you look at my live I did with Diego Magdaleno in Nashville, Tennessee, I said he was going to go in there and win that fight when everybody else was boosting old boy up. Look at my live, man. Look, it ended up not getting me an interview with his opponent, but I didn't care. Listen, that fight that he had with Austin Dulay, man, I did an interview with Diego Magdaleno, and everybody was like, oh man, Austin Dulay, he got a lot of people here to cheer him on and everything. It wasn't anything I was saying bad. He was the hometown dude. Once again, true media. He was the hometown dude. But I was saying, look, I've seen Diego Magdaleno fight Teofimo Lopez. I know how tough of a dog Magdaleno is. I don't believe that Dulay is going to get up out of this fight. With his hands raised, man. I was telling people that. I said, I just don't think he has enough to get out of this fight and get the win. And I was right. And it might have cost me an interview with Austin Dulay. I mean, I think some of his people kind of heard me giving an interview or whatever, but that wasn't the point. If he had something to say about it, he should have just came and say, well, I'm in my hometown. I feel you disrespecting. No, I'm not disrespecting you. I'm just telling you off of what I've seen and watching you fight and watching Magdaleno, it's going to be a very tough fight for you, Dulay. And being, seeing how Dulay is handled the previous fight that he lost against Chris Colbert, it was an RTD in the 7th round. I kind of questioned, what I'm saying? Like, damn, do this dude have the heart? Do Dulay have the heart to stand in there with a dog like Magdaleno and get the win? And Magdaleno was giving Dulay the business, man. I was at the fight. So I'm telling you what I know. And I wasn't able to get an interview with him, but it's all good, man. I think they might have felt some type of way, but Austin Dulay, a good dude. But they might have heard me on the corner saying I just didn't think Dulay would handle the tenaciousness of Magnolino, and I was right. I'm not trying to be a media to be right all the time, because media, we say some stupid shit sometimes. Sometimes, look, a lot of the time it's opinion based, but when you get to see a fighter fight, like I said before, you get to have a better you have a much better clarity of what to expect from certain fighters, whether you like it or not. I laugh it off. Motherfucker tell me I don't know shit about boxing. I just laugh. I say, okay, dude, all right. It's hilarious. Believe me. Say what you want. Check out my catalog. Check out my YouTube. Check out the fighters I support from the grassroots to the top level. And you can say what you want, man. But when you say don't nobody know shit about boxing, I say, okay, it's cool. It's funny. Because I just don't get on here and talk about one or two boxers the entire year. That's not what I'm in media for. I just don't talk about one mixed martial artist a year. That's my favorite mixed martial artist. I don't have a top 3 mixed martial artists that I love talking about, and everybody else don't count. JC say Bob Arum on that lean. Damn. That's an OG though. I got mad respect for Bob, man. He was cool as a fan. I gotta get mad love to Top Rank. I ain't gonna lie. I gotta get mad love to Top Rank. The Cadillac of promotions, man. I had some of my best times doing reporting and doing media at Top Rank events. That's real talk. I really don't care who listening. Man, you know what it is. Top Rank, shit. Damn. Let me see if he hit me up. I've been here talking. I'd be upset if he hit me up and I've been up here and I missed this freaking text. Let's see. Okay. Mimo, what's good? Not only beating a champion, having the cojones to go against the best in the division. That's what it's all about. Magnolino versus Navarrete should be a good one. Understand this, JC. That's not Diego Magnolino. That's his brother Jesse. I had a conversation with Jesse too. Hey, look. Let me explain something to you. You see how? Look, I'm just telling you that, JC. That's his brother. That's what I'm saying. Like, when you hang around boxing so much, like I automatically knew that wasn't Magnolino. That wasn't Diego. Navarrete just moved up, and I knew that was his brother Jesse. But check this out. On the night that Teofimo was fighting Diego, man, them Magnolino brothers was going hard. Them Magnolino brothers was going hard. I'm serious. They got each other's back. I'm telling you the truth, man. Jesse, Diego, they wasn't having no shit from Teofimo Lopez camp. Seriously. But then again, I have to tell the same thing for Teo and his father, Lopez. See, they wasn't taking a step back. That was what you call the grudge match over there in Frisco. I was at the fight. I drove up there, man. I do groundwork. That's why it's difficult to explain, like the fights I've been a part, like seeing the Errol Spence fight when he fought Carlos Ocampo, finishing him in one round. But he was hurt by Carlos Ocampo. People don't understand that. Why was Spence hurt? I'm not going to change the subject, but like, why do you allow Carlos Ocampo to get off? When he wasn't even someone that's supposed to be on your level. But anyway, I was able to see Teofimo Lopez fight and get the stoppage against Magnolino. And that was a tough ass, like that. They was going at it. Teofimo looked good in that fight. Diego looked good in that fight. But when you're talking about momentum, Teo had the momentum though. He never let that momentum go. He had the momentum, man, and they were showing him love, everything. And then, there's a little bit of chaos in there when he knocked out Diego. The fight was stopped, and he went in there and, and did his celebration, and people was just going in like his corner. They was running over there. They was really about to have a brawl up in there. That's the stuff you see only if you at the fight. So yeah, I'm curious to see how Jesse goes in there against Navarrete, Emmanuel Navarrete, one of my favorite fighters. Navarrete is a smooth operator. I'm telling you, Navarrete is a smooth operator. What he was able to do to Isaac Dogboe in the fashion for which he did it twice, he stopped Isaac Dogboe twice. First, he took his title, and then he gave him a rematch, and he stopped him again. Navarrete is this type of fighter that doesn't have the basic picture that you see in a fighter when it comes to boxers, like the framing picture that you get with someone that is considered one of the best at what they do. You pick and choose certain technical skills that they have, what they have in their cachet, that stands out, like they got a strong left hook or a right hook, or they the way they set their jab up and then fire off their combinations. Are they a high volume puncher? All these little intricate details, right? Navarrete, he pick and chooses how he want to dance on your ass. He pick and chooses. And he seemed like he doing that shit effortless. Look at his last fight. When Navarrete, he went up against the ropes. It's almost like you was looking at WWE, right? Navarrete went up against the ropes, leaned back on the ropes, and when he came off the ropes, he landed like a 3-punch combination with ease. No change of expression or nothing. He tatted up his opponent. When his opponent pushed him back, he bounced off the ropes and came back, hit him with a 3-piece, and kept it moving. Like, I like to see Navarrete fight. I'm gonna like to see how he does moving up in weight against Jesse Magdaleno. Real talk. I just can't wait to see that fight. Well, it's all good, JC. Man, hey, at least you put the info up there, that Magdaleno Navarrete should be a good strap. I mean, a lot of people, think it's Diego, but it's his brother Jesse. That's what I'm saying. Hey. And that's why most of the time I do lives with it on camera, right? Because you can tell a lot about someone who's doing media when they're talking to you in the camera than just being behind the screen, because I'm just going to call it for what it is. You can be a boxing genius all day when you're behind the screen and being able to look up information. That's just fact, y'all. Seriously, that's just fact. When it comes down to media, certain media, you separate the ones who are on camera all the time talking boxing and answering questions, and then you have the ones that's never really on camera. And if you want to ask me questions, or if you want to talk to me behind camera, I can pretty much answer any question I want. It might, be a couple of phases of bullshit if I don't know it and while I look it up. But everybody can be a genius behind a thumbnail. You know what I'm saying? Shit, that shit goes without saying. Everybody can be a boxing genius. 87 Teofimo is overrated in my opinion. Yeah, that's your IMO, man, not to me. There's no way you can say a 15-0 fighter is overrated. But then again, I'll tell you that I think Lomachenko is overrated in a sense. For the notoriety and the stage for which he's been placed, I say the same thing about Lomachenko. Look back on my lives. I said it about Triple G. I said I think Triple G is overrated. And Daniel Jacobs exposed him. The person that boosted up Triple G's Wall Street was Jim Lampley. Triple G was in there with some fighters that he was able to walk through their punches and everything. He went in there with Daniel Jacobs and he stopped the 23-fight knockout streak. And we all know what happened from then on, everybody else that he stepped in there with. Triple G has pretty much been on the decline. He's been on the elevator down. I'm not saying he isn't competitive, because someone thought it would be good to sign him to a multi-million-dollar contract. You know what I'm saying? So facts is facts. He lost that fight against Sergey Derevyanchenko. But 87, if you think Teo is overrated, I extremely disagree. Dog Bay Scrappy. Yeah, Dog Bay Nihu. Hey, freaking Dog Bay a warrior, man. Dog Bay a warrior. I'm not gonna lie to you. Dog Bay a motherfucking warrior, dog. He was just in there with a guy who was tall enough, rangy enough, understood his advantages to the striking game, and man, beautiful technician, Emmanuel Navarrete. He's a beautiful boxer. I ain't gonna lie. Like, he's not the one to hold his hands up, earmuffs on all the time when he gets in trouble. No, man, the way he slip and move and dip, the way he apply his boxing authority to his opponent is masterful. That's all I'm saying. That's just masterful. Navarrete, the closest we've had to Salvador Sanchez. Talk to him. Talk to him. Castro, to those who thinks Teo gets tired on later rounds, but against Nakatani, he did the backflip after the fight. Talk to him. See, that's what I'm saying. I already have people in the chat that's talking some facts about the talking point. You don't have to sit up here and agree with me about everything I say. But if you're talking facts that I can caveat to, cool. And he just made a good point, Castro. Outside of the Salvador Sanchez fight, I like education. I like to get educated. Educate me on some shit. He said Teo get tired in the later round, but against Nakatani. Masayoshi Nakatani. Genki Desu? Nakatani was an undefeated fighter, man. But once again, you get fighters that's downgrading him like he wasn't anything. Nakatani was a top-ranked opponent in the top 5, I believe. And no, he was ranked number 3. Nakatani was ranked number 3 in the IBF, and Teofimo Lopez was ranked number 4. You know how difficult it is to do a backflip after the fight, man? Come on, man. Nakatani was, I say, in the first 3 or 4 rounds, he was making it a little bit difficult for Teo. But what did I say earlier that Rolly mentioned? A true champion. A true champion can adapt to anything. That goes for anybody. Just Scrappy as well. Absolutely. I'm telling them, the Magnolino, man, them brothers don't play. Magnolino brothers don't play. I just said, I just don't big up the fighters that I favor in a sense to win a fight. I'm just looking at it like Lomachenko is the only lightweight on the pound for pound list. So if I say he's the only lightweight, then, the pound for pound list don't matter. But I'm telling you, the man is the only lightweight on the pound for pound list. It's hard to even move Lomachenko outside of number 2 or 3 or whatever. And what has he really done? They're giving Crawford credit for his undisputed, for unifying the 140, right? They're giving Lomachenko credit for his double gold medal standard and coming in there and fighting for a world championship and earning it on his 3rd professional fight. They're giving him credit for that, believe it or not. So it's really no standard operating procedure, no SOP for how do you get on the pound for pound list and how do you hold real estate? How do you hold resident on the pound for pound list for that long of time? How is it possible Lomachenko is where he's at, and who has he fought to stay up there as long as he has. That's all I'm saying, people. Come on, man. Just work with me. That's all I'm saying, people. I just feel that, come on, man. He's only one lightweight up there, man. Only one lightweight. It hasn't even been another lightweight to be even remotely considered. What happened when Mikey Garcia was unified at 135? Yeah, I know that make you nod your head like, why Mikey Garcia wasn't up on the damn pound for pound list, steady in the top two? Mikey Garcia is a 4-division champion. Why wasn't he on the top pound for pound list, bruh? That's all I'm saying, people. Johnny said Daniel Jacobs didn't expose him. That's what happened when the best fight the best. Well, I partially agree with what you just said, because exposure to me is if everybody's saying Gennady Golovkin, he's been knocking out everybody, and then you go in there with Daniel Jacobs and you go the distance. What is all that hype at now? Like if you were spoon feeding that to the media every time he fought and every move he made, even if he fainted, you act like the man threw a 2-punch combination and then an uppercut and then hit him with the foe. It comes a point in time where a lot of people will agree that Daniel Jacobs exposed that Triple G wasn't this freaking machine, because he couldn't put Daniel Jacobs out. And Daniel Jacobs was one of the best at that time to step in there with Triple G. So I partially agree with you that when you say the best fighting the best, but my other half is in disagreement when it comes to Triple G being exposed. I really think Daniel Jacobs did a good job with exposing Triple G for what he wasn't. For what he wasn't. They act like he couldn't, nobody could go the distance. He was the Terminator. He's one of the best to ever do it. Putting him in the same language as Bernard Hopkins. He did it better in the middleweight division. And then when you say, well, he only fought one division. So did so-and-so. So did anyway, let me go on, man. But you get the point. Appreciate the info though, Johnny. Castro say ID2 was overrated. Wouldn't have to be asking for more money. I'm not sure. I2 was overrated. He wouldn't have to be asking for more money. I'm not sure what you mean by that, because I was talking about other topics. I'm not sure. 87 on Triple G declining big time. No doubt about that. Derenchenko deserved the nod, but no robbery. Oh, absolutely a robbery. Absolutely, Johnny. Triple G lost that fight, Shouty. Triple G lost that fight. And this, once again, I can understand being on other media outlets that could say, oh, it wasn't a robbery. But listen, if the language even wavers over to say Sergey Derenchenko should have won that fight, and they gave it to Triple G, how is robbery not in the equation? How can you not sit up here and even consider such? If we seen the fight more than once, I looked at that fight more than once, and I'm saying to myself, Sergey Derenchenko won that fight. But how is it not a robbery? If the person who was supposed to win did not win, and they gave the IBF championship to Triple G just so he can have some type of ankle weight to step in there for a trilogy with Canelo Alvarez, man. That's the only way they gave him the IBF. If he would have took that L against Sergey, then people would have been like, you know what am I paying for this fight for Saul Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin 3? Who wants to see that? But now that he has the belt, it still has a little bit more merit and value out here. But I appreciate that input there, Johnny. Tio was overrated. He wouldn't have to be asking for more money. Okay, I got you. Hey, if he was overrated and he didn't get his money, Tio negotiated and got what he was asking. That proves a lot right there. Teofimo Lopez held it square and was able to get the reward. I don't even want to see Triple G versus Canelo 3. I concur. I definitely concur. Facts, Rob. Pound for pound list is a bunch of BS. A lot of people have that same conclusion. Delusional fans say Loma is pound for pound. I cannot sit up here and agree with that at all. You know what I'm saying? I cannot agree with that. Anui pound for pound. I don't know, because listen, once again, Anui came out of nowhere. 3-division champion, right? Currently unified at bantamweight. He came out of nowhere, people. Out of nowhere. Once again, a neighboring fighter from a different country gets catapulted up in the top 5 of the pound for pound list. Monster. You know why? Because at the time, Monster was just knocking cats out. But I'm saying to myself, once again, check out the people that he was knocking out, that he was stopping. Does he really have the power? And then all of a sudden, he goes in there and distance a decision win with Nonito Donaire. People want to say, I don't know. You should, because I was saying this shit before. I say, listen, I always take a look at the opponents. When these fighters are knocking cats out, knocking these fighters out, I always take a gander at who they fought, how they finished them, and also check out the fighter who was able to also fight their opponent. And if there's any finishes, I check that opponent on how he finished them. So I continue to do increments of assessment and try to shred in many layers down to see if it's total value I should give Anui for stopping that particular opponent. And that's how I look at that. That's how I assess the value for which I'm going to provide for Anui. And for a good time, I think he was champion at junior bantamweight and super fly, I think. I'm not sure. Or no, light fly. I'm not sure, but he's a 3-division champion. And guess what? Just off that performance with Nonito Donaire going the distance with Anui, he's going to be stepping in there with Nordine Bali. The same cat who, I was at the MGM Grand when they fought for the vacant WBC bantamweight title. Rashid Baby Pitt Warren and Nordine Bali. Ask me how I know, because Nordine Bali was at, Roy Jones Jr. Boxing Academy over there in Vegas, shaking out, getting ready to go in there and fight Rashid Warren. I was able to chat up with Rashid for a brief moment. I just posted that video on IG. I'm trying to transfer all my vids over to IG. But yeah, check that fight out. Nordine Bali was able to defeat Rashid Warren though. But shout out to Baby Pitt, man. You know what it is, man. Mikey Garcia was a top dog, yes, but he wasn't elevated in the top 3 of the pound for pound list, and he's a 4-division champion. We're talking about a fighter who left top rank, almost similar to Floyd Mayweather, but Mikey Garcia spent over $1 million in litigation fees, releasing himself from the contract of top rank, and only to return to boxing after being away for like what? A year and a half or 2, close to 2 or whatever. So I respect Mikey Garcia when it comes down to understanding his boxing worth when it comes to the business. So that's why Mikey Garcia is trying to get the bigger checks. That's why he's able to make that fight with Errol Spence Jr. the way he was. That's why. He might have got washed, but that's why he can move up from 140 after picking the belt up from Sergey Lipinets and stepping in there and fighting one of the toughest fighters and champion in Errol Spence Jr. on his first fight at welterweight. That's why. He was able to do something that Terrence Crawford wasn't able to do. None of them cats was able to do. He made the sacrifice. I just don't understand what happened to Jacobs after the Triple G fight. He looked average ever since. Talk to him, 87. Talk to him. All I'm saying. I agree, man. I can't figure it out myself either, man. I can't figure that shit out. When I saw him fight Saul Canelo Alvarez, I said, oh yeah, I'm waiting for this fight. I can't wait. And then it seems like Daniel Jacobs just wasn't understanding. It's all or nothing. Let's go. Find a way to change your career. Defeat Canelo Alvarez and you are the man. I know Floyd already did it, but I'm just saying right here with everything Canelo was able to do, man, Jacobs would have defeated him. It would have changed the scope of his career, period. Okay, good question. All right, good question. World, in your opinion, who won Triple G versus Canelo first fight? That's a damn good question, man. When I watched the fight the first time, right, I was thinking 50-50. I was like, you know what, 50-50 fight. Because I'm just looking at it in the moment. I'm seeing the back and forth exchanges. And I'm saying, 50-50 fight. Could have went both ways. That was my first opinion. I say Triple G could have won. Canelo could have won. And then I look at the fight again. I'm saying, well, I think Canelo won the fight. I look at it again. I kept on leaning towards Canelo. It's just the effectiveness of the punches, in my opinion. Because a lot of people seeing Triple G throw that power right, that straight right. But just because Canelo had the way he turned with the punches and he rolled with the right hand Triple G was throwing, a lot of times it didn't connect flush. So you can't give him points on a shot that looked worse than what it actually was. You can't do that. You have to look and see if the punch landed flush in order for it to be graded as punishment. And that's just what I seen. Appreciate that, man. Good drop. Good drop. Good drop. Johnny say Leonard versus Hagler. Hagler deserved a nod, but no robbery here. Okay, here we go. Oscar De La Hoya. Okay, speaking of Leonard Hagler, that wasn't a robbery because, first of all, who in the hell told Hagler to come out there and fight opposite of what his standard stance was? There, Johnny. Who gave him advice? And believe me, I've spoken to Marvin Hagler, man. Good dude, man. Good dude. And what he's watching, this is not good dude, man. But who gave him advice to come out there? Just because Sugar Ray was coming back from a hiatus from 84, dealing with his eye and situation. But 84 to 87. And Hagler said, you know what, I'm gonna be David Copperfield tonight, and I'm gonna show him a different look. Who told you to do that, Shawty? Who? It was a bad move. But you got to give it up. That's why Sugar Ray, one of my top 5 fighters. That's why Sugar Ray Leonard, one of my top 5 fighters, man. How he went in there and fought. Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Oscar De La Hoya versus Felix Trinidad. Oscar deserved a nod, no robbery. When it comes to, man, that right there, I remember that fight, man. I'm saying to myself, damn. I know the Hispanics and the Latin community, they're all torn with this. They was going for Felix Trinidad, period, because they despise Oscar because of his Americanness. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't giving him the full nod. But man, it was a good fight. I liked it. A robbery is when they win by a lot, like Pacquiao versus Bradley. I can look. That's an opinion to say the least. Because what I'm trying to explain in that, Johnny, is that a win is a win. If a fighter is supposed to win, right? And the scorecards are close. But ultimately, when we watched the fight, this particular fighter was supposed to win. It's a robbery. Because it don't matter if you walk up to somebody and rob them with a butter knife or a real knife, a stick, or a weapon, a gun, a firearm. A robbery is a robbery. If you're watching a fight and one fighter is supposed to win, and we know for a fact that fighter did enough to win, but they give it to the other fighter. It doesn't matter if it was close. They robbed the man. You know why? Because you took away something that he or she was supposed to receive because they earned it or they worked for it. It was something that was supposed to be in their possession. The win was supposed to be in their possession because they did enough to earn that victory. But the judges came through and said no. What was that? Adelina Bird. Now, an individual like that blatantly judged the fight the way she did, she is the type of person that would cause a robbery. And she was only reprimanded for a short period of time, and then she's back doing the same thing. She's back judging fights. I get where you're coming from, though. Pacquiao Bradley, in a sense, yeah, that was a robbery. And that's why Bradley hurried up and gave Pacquiao a rematch, because he was taking so much harassment. The Filipinos don't play about their fighter. Shit. Look, the Filipinos be on your ass like any other. The Filipinos, don't you ever fuck with them like that. Bradley took unimaginably amount of criticism, hate, harassment for that fight against Pacquiao. They harassed his family. They threatened his life. All that, y'all. So Bradley couldn't wait to get back in there to Pacquiao. And, you know, the results were what they were. I know it was a relief for Timothy Bradley, to be honest. I know he was relieved to get that loss. That might be fucked up to say, but, man, coming up out of there the way he did, man, them Filipinos, man, especially when it comes to Pacquiao, they don't freaking play, man. Those Filipinos love their boxers. Donaire took a lot out of Inouye. I agree, Dion. He did take a lot of Inouye. But hey, if you look on the ring pound for pound list, they still got Inouye as top 3. And we all know the ring is ran by Golden Boy, but I'm just saying, like, they still got Inouye at top 3 now. Even Andre Ward came out with a list pound for pound, and he had Inouye on there. I think Inouye was like number 4, 5, I think. Yeah, hey. And once again, I look at it, I say this, I almost said something cliche. I try to stay away from cliche terms. I almost said I say that to say this. I say that to say this. I do. I'm going to say it. This is what I want to say about Nonito Donaire. He's an older fighter who still proves that he can compete. Legitimate. Donaire can still compete. So it's only feasible for certain people to praise and appease the value of fighters when they get older, to either call them a bum or to say, oh man, so-and-so still good. They're one of the best in the game. They still can compete with the best. But you don't say that same underlining value to every fighter. Guido, what's good? What's good, man? Say World Combat Sports salute. Castro say, who's your top pound for pound? Right now, top pound for pound, I would have to go with the body of work and what their accomplishments are able to show on their resume, and that's Canelo Alvarez, period. Because I look back in history of the individuals that was able to move up in weight and still win. Still win, y'all. I have to give credence to Canelo Alvarez, even though he's not fighting the best at middleweight. I have to give credence for him to be able to make the move, accomplish the move deployment, have mission accomplishment. The mission is to go up and get a strap, and was able to build on your divisional wealth, so to speak. That means you're being able to apply those divisions to your body of work. Canelo, when he went up and fought Rocky Fielding, he not only went in there and won, but he stopped him in 3. And then nobody never would have thought Canelo Alvarez, 160, okay, all the way up to light heavy and facing the former multi-time champion and Sergey Kovalev. Even though I still say to this day, I don't buy that bullshit 11th round stoppage, but Canelo got the stoppage. He picked up the strap. And now I'm hearing he may face Callum Smith. Now, you know goddamn well that's going to be a big fight. That's going to be the fight people have been waiting for, if indeed that fight comes to fruition. But I have Canelo Alvarez without any doubt or compunction, any of that. I have him as my top pound for pound. I have to give him credit for what he's been able to accomplish. I have to give him credit. I firmly believe that Terrence Crawford is my number 2. I firmly believe that because Terrence Crawford, people always want to degrade and say, you know what, the way he was able to get 3 divisions and all that. Man, come on. The man was undisputed. Vasyl Lomachenko chose to vacate his WBC super and become franchise. And you're going to keep him above Terrence Crawford, who was able to earn the super titles the right way? He was able to unify an entire division the right way. I don't give a fuck who he fought for a vacant title or whatever. Unification is unification. Undisputed is undisputed. Vasily gave up the WBC to become franchise when he just could have waited for Teofimo Lopez to finish up with Richard Comey and fight for the IBF for the undisputed lightweight championship. Yeah, Sugar Ray Leonard, one of my top 5 fighters, period. Because when Sugar Ray got in trouble, he fought back. He just didn't goddamn every time you see Sugar Ray get in trouble, you know it was his demise. Sugar Ray could box, goddamn it. When Sugar Ray was coming on, I was watching. Appreciate that, Castro. Good question. To be honest, man, when it comes to pound for pound list, I don't go with like the favoritism. I just have to go with who's been doing what in the sport of boxing. And within that progress, of course, who did they fight? Are they willing to make the moves? And Canelo has been willing to make the moves, man. He had 2 tough fights with Triple G. He definitively won the rematch. Hey, he's been doing what the hell he's supposed to do, man, making moves in the sport of boxing. Now, Johnny makes a good point. So Castillo was robbed by Mayweather. So are you inferring that? You know what I'm saying? It seemed like you're saying it's rhetorical. Like you're saying that you already believe that Castillo was robbed by Mayweather. And if you asking somebody, like I tell you all the time, I dichotomize that shit down the middle. And I do believe Castillo was robbed by Mayweather. Absolutely. I do. I watched the fight several times. Over. Come on, man. Bradley did get the nod, but he was goddamn harassed because of that decision. And you can Dion said Canelo with 3 gifts. Those 3 gifts was outside of Christmas, and they mean a whole hell of a lot because those gifts gonna hang around for a lifetime. Shit. Look, Canelo keep making moves like that. I'm telling y'all. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. Canelo keep making moves like that. You're gonna see this man either in cruiserweight division or heavyweight when it's all said and done, man. Watch what I tell you. I'm telling you, look, Saul Canelo Alvarez, Canelo Alvarez, aka Cinnamon, right? 53-1-2, man, 36 knockouts. He's only 30 years old. He has a cool 7 to 8 more years if he chooses to stay in the sport left. A cool 7 to 8 years left in boxing to make moves. And look, we all know he's a drug cheat, clenbuterol, okay? Fuck, where's the beef? We all know he was juicing. But when it comes down to his body of work and who's been in there with, come on, man. Come on. You can talk about him losing the ROLANDO law. That's in the past. He lost to Floyd Mayweather. He got a lesson. But you just can't keep bringing up ROLANDO law all the time. You can't do that. But look at the res, though. Look at the res, y'all. Centron, Mosley, Josecito Lopez, Trout, Mayweather Jr. Come on, Angulo, Laura. And I'm gonna pause right quick for Kirkland. You know what I'm saying? Even though Kirkland was 32-1 at the time, shit, one of the most vicious knockouts you'll ever see in boxing. And Kirkland, in my opinion, I knew that shit was gonna happen. He shouldn't have went in there with Canelo Alvarez at the time. Because I gotta skip over James Kirkland. Even though he was tough against Alfredo Angulo, he took a lot of fucking punishment in that fight. He took a lot, but I enjoyed that mother. Cotto, Khan. Now, once again, you know, Khan having the styrofoam chin he does, still he's a big name in the sport of boxing. But Canelo KO'd him. Smith, you know, Smith was undefeated when he fought Canelo. Chavez Jr., I always tell people, I don't give a damn what you're talking about. Chavez Jr. was in there as a body. Chavez Jr. was in there as a second man in the ring. Why? Because when a fighter goes in there and fight, and Canelo knew this shit, Canelo went in there and gave him 12 rounds. Chavez Jr. took all the punishment and knowing that the Triple G fight was signed already. So Chavez Jr. wasn't going to win that fight. Chavez was a punching bag. Anyway, moving on. Golovkin twice. Rocky Fielding out. Champion for the WBA super middleweight title. Got him up out of there. Defeated Jacobs. Defeated Kovalev. And he shouldn't be pound for pound? Man, y'all crazy. Y'all crazy, man. Y'all crazy. Come on, man. Pound for pound easy. Dion say, Johnny, since you gonna say that I'm done because you know Floyd watched that boy. Quit playing. Funky cards happen. Let me see. What's the Laura fight? Again, defense alone doesn't win fight. You know, you have to look at the fight more than once, and it's your perception on how you grade boxing. If you're not a judge, you really have to. Everybody have everybody have their different understanding on how they grade a fight. When it comes down to it, it's tough. $114. Hey, how did I miss all these comments? Canelo is fight the best he fought. Triple G and Jacobs, all Charlo and Andrade done at 160. Drag guys up there. I'm not even gonna talk about Charlo and Andrade right now because they kind of don't mesh in with Canelo's situation, because Canelo has failed to choose them as a worthy opponent to grace the square with. So I can't even really bring in Charlo and Andrade, because if that was the case, they would have fought each other already, being that Charlo had pretty much told Andrade to get a belt earlier, and he gets a belt, they still don't fight, and all this other shit, man. So I can't really, I'm not gonna get on that right now. He said, I'm asking you, was he, because you said a close fight, that who we thought won and don't win is a robbery. Because in my opinion, when somebody win and definitively it's supposed to be a win and they give it to the other fighter, you just rob that fighter of a win. Why? Because he should have earned the victory. Hey, it's explanatory. It's explanatory. It's not he was an inch. If the person did enough to win and he doesn't get the nod, in my opinion, it still falls heavily on being robbed, because that fighter's ledger now has a loss on the right side of it when it should have had a win on the left. He was juicing. He was juicing. Protection by the WBC. Protection for the future first franchise champion. Absolutely, Canelo was on the juice. Dion said Canelo should have 3 losses. That's all I'm saying. Amir Khan was the second body too. Yeah, Amir Khan, the way he was knocked out is one of the most brutal knockouts. So, man, it's kind of tough. You have to look at how the body hit the ground. Like that song, Let the Bodies Hit the Floor. You have to look at how the bodies hit the floor with James Kirkland and Amir Khan, because it was vicious. Oh my God, it was vicious. It was super duper oper vicious. Canelo only lost once. Lord didn't beat in Triple G fight. Is your opinion, not facts. I never said it was fact. You asked me for my opinion. You asked me for my response. So if somebody gives a response, that's just what the person is giving you. If it's public record, I can say it's facts, because on the box rec it says what? Canelo won, right? And on the box rec it says the draw happened with Triple G and Canelo Alvarez. So I'm just basing my opinion to say, well, I thought Canelo won that fight after watching it again and again and again. That's my opinion, because on box rec it says a draw. But if I'm saying I looked at the fight and I thought it was a win for Canelo, that's my opinion. No one has beaten as many champions as Canelo has by time they was his age. I mean, Canelo's a beast. I'm not sure why you're making it up for debate. I was asked my pound for pound. I have Canelo as my pound for pound right now. But then again, people can look at as how many champions he beat and everything. But one champion he didn't beat, though. I know one champion he didn't beat. We all know who that is. And unfortunately for Canelo, that egg is going to sit there. That egg is going to sit there, because that was a clinic. That was a motherfucking clinic. Hands down. Clenbuterol burns fat. Why would he be on that fighting a bigger Triple G? He ate meat from Mexican. It's a lot of ways, man. It's a lot of ways that you can take that to keep it off. Because if he was eating to gain mass, he could have took clenbuterol to make sure his body fat remains at a low level. I mean, it's very scientific. It's not something I choose to go in grave detail about. But I'm saying, if he nutritionally was Just say, for instance, that his calorie intake increased so he can build the muscle mass to go in there. But also, he wanted to keep a low body fat, because with the higher protein and everything that goes along with it, the transient fat, you're going to sooner or later pick up some body fat there too. And we all know in boxing, you have to make sure you meet the weight limit. So the dynamic of anybody that'll tell you when it comes to nutrition, it is indeed a process for which you have to try certain things. Scientifically, you have to put certain things together to see what that person's body works with, what works for that particular boxer. You know what I'm saying? That's the only way you can determine that. Everybody's body is different when it comes to cutting weight. Just say for Jarrell Miller, for instance. Jarrell Miller was potentially taking a lot of what he was digesting because his effort to get in the gym may not have equaled what was required for him to not balloon up in weight and have people like shaking their head like, damn, he 345, he 350. So he was kind of taking things to the point where he can actually get up enough motivation and energy to go in there and work out, train, and still condition his body. Because we know if you have a high calorie intake and you're not burning the calories off, then you're not going to lose any weight. You're going to continue to put on weight. Doesn't it take like 3,000 calories to burn a pound? It takes 3,000 calories to burn a pound, right? So the dynamic part about speaking about clenbuterol burning fat, if you're gaining weight to step up in anything, you want that weight to be muscle. You want it to be applicable the proper way. It is a process for which you try to blend everything together to work for that person's body. Nutrition is finicky. It is a magic trick. It is a process, because some people can eat and say, you know, let's just eat some steak. I'm gonna put you on a 6-ounce steak today, and then I'm gonna give you half a cup of carbs, and then I'm gonna give you a full cup of veggies, these particular veggies. Then you have to apply the fact that that person's gonna be running, they're gonna be working out, they're gonna be burning calories. So you have to make sure the calorie intake, the increase in calorie intake works effectively to the point where that body that you're trying to build up, muscle and everything, maintains that weight accordingly with the muscle mass. Because it's no way around if that fighter's sparring, running on the pavement, working out, doing all those exercises, and you're increasing his calorie intake. You have to make sure you do it perfectly to the point where he sustains the muscle mass. Because we all know with muscle, with weight loss, you can lose muscle too if you're not adequately applying the calorie intake to sustain it. You know what I'm saying? It's too much to really get into right now, but clenbuterol can do a lot for somebody who's consuming steak and building muscle mass and still working out enough and keeping their body fat low to be conditioned. So Canelo Alvarez went in there and start tiring out in the mid to late rounds. Because we all know what happened when you gain weight. You know, your cardio might change. You know what I'm saying? Your gas tank might be a little empty earlier than what you expected. But what clenbuterol will allow you to do, to have that energy that also will burn fat and allow you to push through those workouts while also putting on extra weight. I got to move on. Y'all taking me back. Oh, hey, Dion, I actually mentioned clenbuterol earlier. Dion, so I thought he was addressing me too. D Hodges in the building. Salute, man. Canelo only had trace amounts, which doesn't do anything. And they gave him a hair test to confirm he wasn't on cycle. But also they gave him a suspension too, which retroactive back to the February. So he was guilty. They suspended him, right? It was retroactive back to February. So he was on suspension. You know, however you want to gauge it, he was on suspension. They suspended him. So however, look, you have to understand about nutrition. They have many ways on how to convolute the actual source of the problem. The how you put it, the culpability. They have many ways on how to make it look like something. Like you have people like just say Conte when he was doing all this, like Conte when he was in trouble with all that. And now, you know, he does his time or whatever. Now he's back with snack or whatever. Still, it's people out there like him that knows how to manipulate the system and have these fighters out here taking certain things to increase their performance and get them to get to certain levels. And then they know potentially when to get them off of it and sustain that level of energy and conditioning up to the fight and go in there and do what they have to do without popping positive. It's just people that's out there that's smart enough to make that dynamic happen. That's public record though. And you telling me what I already know, because I'm not looking this stuff up. I'm going off what I already know. So why are you telling me what they suspend him because of? That's public record. Everything what you mentioning, trace amounts. Why they suspended him. That's public record. That's on record. It doesn't matter what limit. If the limit exceeds what is required to rate an suspension in the sport of boxing as a violation, it doesn't matter what the amount was. If the amount exceeds that violation, if the amount exceeds the limit that places them in violation per the rules, then it's a violation. That's why they suspend it. It don't matter what traces amounts. John Jones had picograms still filtering out his system from prior drug use in the UFC. He didn't have higher amounts. He had somewhat similar trace amounts of picograms. They still suspended him. And then he ended up testing positive again. But since it was along the same limits of picograms that he was suspended for previously, they did a little bit further in-depth investigation, and they didn't suspend him this time. They said, okay, why don't we allow USADA to understand that potentially a person who was on these performance enhancing drugs before may have been doing it to such amount that they may still filter out a person's system differently. It's just like almost taking time release vitamins or whatever. They go in your system throughout. It's not immediate. It's like potatoes. You have white potatoes that is simple carbs, and you have sweet potatoes that's somewhat time release periodically throughout. So not everybody's body is different. Just say Canelo was juicing, and it took it a little bit longer to get out the system per the timeline that they originally thought, and he popped. Clenbuterol, and you can specify however you want. He popped for clenbuterol. It don't matter whatever the violation is for that particular. You know how deep the list of performance enhancing drug violations is in these combat sports and in professional sports, period. It's too long of a list to go to right off the top of the dome, right? But the whole point was that his suspension was retroactive back to when it was, and he popped. I'm not sure what to tell you. I mean, I never told you any limits. I'm just saying he popped for combuterol. I mean, if he did or did not cheat, it still makes a person look like they cheated. I mean, if that was the case, every fighter, most of the time, outside of Jarrell Miller, would say, you know what? I unknowingly ingested. I unknowingly ingested. That's a lot of language that is used for these fighters when they test positive, right? Jarrell Miller, when I talked to him, and when he came online, when he popped positive, he got online and talked to his fans. He basically said, what? I fucked up. And then what did he say recently? I fucked up. I mean, hey, we still, the jury's still out on the what's going on with Jarrell Miller, because you know that's just a tough situation. This is a person that may not have the work ethic to be what he needed to be. His eating ethic may have far exceeded his work ethic in getting in the gym. So potentially he was taking performance enhancing drugs to get him up, you know, to that peak energy level to go in there and work out. Because we're talking about a fighter who has competed over 300 pounds before in the heavyweight division. So I'm not qualified to say, as much as I do know on the scope of it, just from reading and all that, you know, I really can't speak totally in depth about the fine, minute details of Canelo Alvarez popping positive for combuterol. But what we can tell you is that when a fighter pops, hey, they pop. You test dirty, you test dirty. But I get what you, I mean, hey, it is what it is. You know, appreciate the input, man. You know what I'm saying? But when you pop for something, it's difficult to convince the people that you wasn't trying to cheat. Yes, it's different. You know, it's a different ball game to try to figure all that out. But when it comes dirty, the only thing the general public is doing as they're hearing all this, they're gonna look down and they're gonna place their own judgment upon you. They're gonna place their own opinion as to if you knowingly or unknowingly understood what you was getting into. That's how it all works itself out, unfortunately. So yeah, that's what it is. But back to what I was saying earlier. For those of you that tuned in and in the live chat, hey, I appreciate everyone who stopped through. You know, really, I appreciate everybody who stopped through today to talk this boxing. And you know, share the video. It's essential that you share and subscribe to the channel, and also understand that once again, negotiation is in no way, shape, or form considered ducking. Catchway episode 726. You know what it is. World Combat Sports. Hopefully you pass the word and understand that Teofimo Lopez will indeed get his $2 million purse. He is the Lee Majors of boxing right now. He is the $1 million man. He was able to get what he wanted, negotiated. So those of you that stopped by, man, salute to you. I appreciate it. Until next time, turn up and tune in to World Combat Sports.